morning, everybody. I am joined by Police Chief Kathy Lanier and Deputy Mayor Kevin Donahue and members of my staff. We wanted to call you together to give a public safety update. We are standing in the middle of one of Ward 5's great neighborhoods, the Langston Carver community, and we're also joined by members of the community, members of ANC commissions, neighbors here as well. And we wanted to be here because this was the location of a senseless murder and has been certainly on our attention for other acts of violence. And over the past 4 months, we know that we have seen spikes in violence across our city. This is one of the police service areas that we are focused attention and resources on as well. So we are focused with the human services, job training, employment. We recently announced grants, grassroots grants for community organizations that will help us engage members of the community. We continue to be very focused on illegal guns in our community and the harm that illegal guns are bringing to our community. And we're very thankful to residents all over Washington, D.C. for calling our illegal gun tip line. And in the last four months alone, we have taken 450 illegal guns off the streets. We've also been focused on giving MPD all the resources and more resources that they need, including what the council can help us with and making sure that the crime lab is able to staff up and get police officers who are now doing crime analysis back on the streets. Today in particular, I wanted the chief to come and talk to you about homicide case closures. Earlier in the summer, we kept you up to date on the warrants and outstanding warrants that we had, investigations that were underway, and we asked for the public's help in that case as well. This month in particular, we have seen a significant number of closures, and especially a closure in the murder of Arvell Stewart. And we're here today in the 2200 block of 8th Street Northeast. Arvell was shot in this community on June 21st. 2 days later, on June 23rd, he succumbed to his injuries. It was an act of violence that we should not suffer for any family in any community. Since that time, MPD has been doing meticulous work, and we know that these investigations, they take time, they take cooperation from the community, but in the end, working together and with the expert assistance of our crime lab, we can close these cases. We want to send a strong message that this type of violence won't be tolerated in our communities, and we won't stop investigating until we can bring justice to these families. Last month on November 11, members of the Capital Area Region Fugitive Task Force arrested a 19-year-old for the homicide of Mr. Stewart. So I want to thank the chief. I want to thank our homicide detectives. I want to thank the community. I continue to send my condolences to the family, but also with the strong message that this violence won't be tolerated. Chief Lanier will talk a little bit more about case closures.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Two things I want to say real quick. First off, the high number of closures we've had in the past 30 days in large part is due to extra resources that the mayor has put in place to assist us with getting the job done. Another huge chunk of that is community members coming forward and working with us. So one of the reasons we're here today, not only to talk about those closures, the rapid closures that we've had in the past 30 days, but also to highlight we still have two more cases where we have suspects identified and we need the community to tell us where they are. So we can go and pick those guys up, because then there'll be two more closures. So in the last 30 days, we have 12 cases, homicide cases, that have been closed by our detectives. And what is similar and striking about these homicides that has been consistent for the rest of the year, I'll just read you a couple of the motives in these cases. A bump in a nightclub, an argument in a carryout, a fist fight at a party, an argument over the proceeds of panhandling, a stolen cell phone by a friend, a theft from a car, an argument over a girl, and 2 domestic violence cases. So while we've seen in the homicides this year, 110 of our homicides have occurred in the 5th, 6th, and 7th districts. 110 out of 152 are in those 3 districts. And the closures we're announcing today largely are all in those same areas because our communities are tired of the violence and they're working with us to bring justice to the families involved. So we still have 2 suspects out that we are asking for your help. We have flyers here. We are looking for Mr. William Lee Lewis, who was responsible for a homicide on Tuesday, November 3rd in the 5000 block of Benning Road. We have flyers with his photograph, so we're asking for the public's help in bringing him in. And also Mr. John Anthony James, who's responsible for a homicide on Monday, September 28th in the 1100 block of Eaton Road Southeast. So 2 more people out there in our community we desperately need to get off the street to bring justice to our families and get them off the street so no more violence occurs. So again, I want to thank so much the members of this community and other communities that have come forward to help us to bring these people to justice. And to our homicide detectives, they really have worked very, very hard. And this rapid turnaround on these cases means so much to friends and family members who never will get their loved one back, but they certainly feel some sense of justice when a person responsible for these cases is brought into custody. So thank you again for everybody's support in these cases.
Okay. We'll take a few questions. Yes. Just if everybody could announce your name and station.
Chief Lanier.
Yes.
Melanie Alwick from Fox 5. Do you have an update on the Alonzo Smith case? Because I know in the last update we had, I'm still waiting for an autopsy report. It had been, I think it was early November when he died.
Yeah, we don't have that final autopsy report. As soon as that's available, I'm sure we'll make sure it's released.
Why is it taking so long?
I'm not a medical examiner. I can't tell you.
Chief, could you give an update on the Shanice Milton case?
I don't have any new updates to announce today, no.
Chief, we were, Bruce Lachey from Channel 9, we were talking a lot over the summer about this spike in violence. Do you feel like you have a handle on it at this point, or is it continuing at the pace that we were talking about before? Where are we?
So, I mean, just listening to me read off the motives in the cases that we just talked about being closed, and you hear the wide variety, the range of what the motives are, and just how disconnected and senseless, honestly, they are. Everything from a bump in a nightclub to a friend taking another friend's phone. Yes, we've seen things slow down. I think the rapid arrests and bringing people to justice so there's no further violence around those cases makes a huge difference. But our real challenge now is to stay on these illegal firearms. I mean, we've got too many illegal firearms out here with these high-capacity magazines, and that really has contributed to an increase in the number of lives lost because of the number of rounds that are being fired.
You talked about an increase in the resources that the mayor's been able to give you, and that's helped. I know these detectives are working incredibly hard, some of them 24 hours a day on some of these cases. Do you need more detectives? Do you have enough investigators?
Well, you know, we never reduced the number of people in our homicide unit. Even when our homicides dropped by 58%, I let the staffing remain. So it's not a matter of not enough resources. What has helped us the most is their additional resources at the forensic lab. The forensic laboratory is turning around evidence for us very quickly, getting it back to the detectives, and that helps us move cases much, much quicker. So a dramatic improvement in what we're seeing coming out of the forensic lab.
Mayor Bowser, my name's Denise Kress. I'm not with the press. I'm an ANC commissioner. And I'm here today because while the police are doing a fantastic job arresting, the Department of Justice isn't prosecuting. Not only are they not prosecuting, but they're refusing to provide information on prosecution data to residents. I FOIA'd the Department of Justice a month ago, and I'd seek your support in getting this information out of DOJ, because absent that information, which they're not only not sharing with residents, but they're not sharing with the police, we don't understand what the full picture looks like. So can I get your support in supporting this FOIA?
I would have to, of course, see the FOIA, but you already have my support in asking the Department of Justice to look very closely at our cases and move on those cases. We have had this conversation ongoing with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and in fact, we have developed a set of data that we're requesting through our Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that will really follow a set of cases from start to finish. And so we're still working with them to get that going. So we have a new U.S. attorney who we seek to establish that relationship and expectation with, not only on the homicide cases but also on the robbery cases. And we look forward to being able to talk about a greater commitment around those robbery and homicide prosecutions, but also to the point of just having regular information so that it's public. So when there's an arrest, what's the charge? When there's a charge, is it prosecuted? When it's prosecuted, do we get a conviction? When we get a conviction, what's the sentence? When we get a sentence, is it served? Is it reduced? When we get people who are released, do they have the proper supervision? So we want to be able to follow that, and we know that will keep communities safer.
Hi, Peter.
Can you give us an update on what happened at the school board night at Catholic University over the past few days? Take us through what happened from Monday night through today.
Sure. I'll give you what the information we have right now. So initially there was a call 2 nights ago about 11:30 p.m. The initial report was a custodian that worked at the university was approached by a person with a handgun. That person made comments about comments similar to a threat of placing a bomb. There was different language used about placing a bomb somewhere at the university. Security guard was contacted. The Catholic University Security was contacted immediately. They contacted MPD. We did stop a person that we believe might have been the person, but that turned out not to be him. We had a very good description of a Middle Eastern male, 6 foot, 6'1", long, dark beard. In that case, armed with a silver handgun. That went on throughout the evening that night. And then last night, we got an officer who was assigned for special attention over in that area, assigned in the 4th District, saw a person in a vehicle acting suspiciously. A person quickly got into a vehicle and appeared to be avoiding the police officer in the marked car. So the officer tried to stop that car. The person exited the car, and we lost sight of him. Doing a canvass looking for that person, we were able to find the person. He actually was in the library. There was nothing nefarious about that. I believe the car had out-of-state tags, and maybe the avoiding the police might have been because of the out-of-state tags not being registered properly. But there was no criminal conduct there. But there was a period while we were out looking for that person last night that the campus put out a shelter-in-place message to the campus students. And then there was some other confusion because once the shelter-in-place message went out, parents started calling in saying, I understand there's a shelter-in-place. Is there an active shooter? And then, there was some confusion about whether there was now another man with a gun call. So we tried to clear that up as quickly as we could. And we had officials, there on the scene trying to make sure we were, recommunicating through social media some of the accurate information. But that's where we are right now. We are still looking for that initial gentleman. We know the 2 incidents were not connected, so we're confident that they are not connected. So the person that best description we have for the person we're looking for is a Middle Eastern male, early 20s, with a long, dark beard, was wearing a dark blue sports coat on the evening of the first incident, which was 2 days ago, Peter. No, the person that we stopped last night was not. He did have a beard, which I think was the initial similarity that made people think it was connected.
Can you talk a little bit about the tension that exists around possible terrorist attacks, maybe what the police department see?
If you're referring to last night's event, I think that everybody has a heightened sense of security. I mean, I think even just general, the students on campus, security, police, everybody has a heightened sense of feeling of wanting more security right now. I don't think it's at a point where people are scared, but I think they're reporting things and very sensitive to things that look out of place. Just like the officers last night, their actions were outstanding. They saw somebody's behavior that didn't look right. It was inconsistent with what is normal, and given the environment we're in and that it was around the university and what had happened, I think that everybody acted exactly the way we would want them to.
Yeah, let me just get somebody who hasn't asked the question. Yes, sir.
Steve Burns, WMAL Radio.
Yes, Steve.
Obviously, some of your policing proposals over the summer and even early fall didn't go over well with communities like this. How has your thinking evolved since then on how to deal with this overarching?
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, we have our Safer Stronger package is at the council. The council had a hearing on it, I believe, in September, so it's been a couple of months, and we very much support fully the proposals that are in the Safer Stronger package.
And the community stands with you.
In the security environment, the people are nervous on heightened
Yep.
alert. And now we have presidential candidate Donald Trump calling for a ban on Muslims. Other big city mayors have said, somewhat sarcastically, they'd like to ban Donald Trump. We know he has business here in Washington, D.C.
He has business everywhere. Yeah.
So your feelings on his comments?
I'm appalled by his comments. Not just these. I've been appalled by other comments that he's made. And I think it is incumbent on members of his party to stand up and speak out against him. I obviously don't agree with banning Muslims, building a wall for Mexicans, or any other the things that he has said. But as we go through this process, not to get too political, Republicans have a decision to make, and it looks like it's a good chance that they could nominate him. So I think good, well-meaning Republicans need to say, like I've heard some of them say, that this I don't think is representative of their party, and is certainly not representative of our nation.
You talked about the forensics lab. There was some concern about the DNA testing at the lab. Do you know what the status is on accreditation?
Well, we're still working through it. I think, when I became mayor about a week, maybe a day after I was sworn in, I got a letter from the U.S. attorney saying that his concerns with the crime lab had gotten to a point where he didn't think that the analysis was reliable. The U.S. attorney took all of their evidence to a private contractor. We've made tremendous changes at our lab, including bringing in a brand new team. The council also approved my request to inject about $8 million worth of resources into the lab that are going to give us more analysts. And to the point that the chief made, we're already seeing, even before we got the new people, a turnaround of evidence, which is helping the detectives start casework soon. So when I hired Dr. Smith, I told her how important it was. This city has made a significant investment in that lab, and we wanted to do everything. We wanted to do ballistics. We wanted to do DNA. We even wanted to branch out into some public health analysis as well. So our expectation is that we will take back DNA from our private contractor in the very near future.
Chief, do you have an update on the barricade situation that's happening on 14th Street?
No, and I'm not going to comment on that right now because right now it's very, very sensitive. So I will hopefully be commenting on it very shortly.
All right. I appreciate everybody from coming out, and we look forward to keeping you up to date.